Part 33. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 321. Chapter 321, Harvesting the Flame Grass. Xianxia sat on the back of the White Eagle. When he first arrived at Xuanhuan sect, the feeling of riding the flying spiritual beast up and down the mountain came again, but the speed of these three white eagles was faster than the ones his master had captured for him. That one is much faster. When she thought of her master, Xianxia began to worry again. She didn't know whether her master would be safe and smooth after arriving in the higher continent. It was much easier to travel with a flying mount. Looking at the trees passing by below, Xianxia had the idea of contracting a flying spirit beast. After all, flying in the air consumes too much spiritual energy. If you have a powerful flying spirit beast, you can save a lot of spiritual energy. However, she gave up the idea in an instant. She is a Xuanhuan master. After she becomes familiar with the higher continents, it will be very convenient to directly use the teleportation Xuanhuan. It's just that the teleportation profound text is not as far as the teleportation array disk and teleportation array, and it requires familiarity with the geographical environment in order to teleport to the exact location. This is also the reason why she and Jizhong did not use the teleportation text, because they did not know much about the higher continent. Although they had maps, they also knew the place names and had never been to these places. Within half a quarter of an hour, Xianxia saw the valley in front of him, and let go of his consciousness to sense that there were indeed many monsters in the valley. The white eagle landed some distance away from the valley. You can't get any closer, otherwise the monster will attack. Zhetian conveyed Bai Diao's meaning, and then said, "Master, let me go and check the situation." Xianxia nodded and reminded Zhetianzu to check if there were other entrances and exits to the valley. The three white eagles didn't know what Xianxia was talking about. Anyway, if the three of them went in together, they wouldn't be able to get a good result, and they couldn't even get a flame grass. So they were very curious about how Xianxia wanted to get the flame grass. Zhetian went to inquire about the situation, and Xianxia was not idle either. She was walking around near the entrance of the valley. Three huge white eagles stood there with their heads swooning, and they rotated as Xianxia walked. They don't know what Xianxia is doing, but they don't delay watching the fun out of curiosity. About a quarter of an hour later, Zhetian came back and reported the situation to Xianxia in detail. The situation inside is similar to what Bai Diao said, except that what Zhetian brought back is more accurate. There are a total of 36 monsters inside, of which 12 have similar cultivation levels to the three white eagles. There is no other entrance to the valley, and there are no flying monsters in it, so they have to go through the only entrance in front. After understanding the situation clearly, Xianxia asked the three white eagles to stand far away. The three white eagles walked away obediently. They did not stop until Xianxia said it was okay. They still stood neatly and looked at each other. Busy with the fragrance. Xianxia estimated the distance, and then walked out of an arc with the entrance of the valley as the center. As she walked, she placed spiritual stones. In one circle, she consumed more than 30 high-grade spiritual stones and surrounded the entrance of the valley. That's right, she is setting up a formation, a trapping formation plus an isolation formation. After that, she set up a small formation inside the formation, then took out the bowl that had been used to collect the spiritual spring, which contained half a bowl of spiritual spring, and placed it in the small formation. Because the entire bowl has been soaked by the spiritual spring, and Xianxia also put a small half bowl of the spiritual spring in it, the spiritual energy of the spiritual spring is very strong. However, because the formation she set up had an isolation effect, the three white eagles standing outside the formation could not sense the aura of the spiritual spring at all. The spiritual energy of Lingquan floated into the valley along the formation. Soon, The monsters in the valley discovered it, and they all became excited. The allure of the spiritual energy of Xuanhuan was so powerful that they usually behaved very well. The monsters and beasts ran along the spirit spring's breath without caring about anything. Including the dozen or so powerful monsters, their strength was still feared by other monsters. Although they all ran towards the entrance of the valley, they all made way for them to go first. As soon as they passed by, the other monsters became chaotic. They squeezed each other and came out from the entrance of the valley. At this time, Xianxia used an invisibility script on herself and stood on the vines covering the sky at the entrance of the valley, watching the monster beasts swarm out. In fact, with Xianxia's strength, under normal circumstances, even if she is invisible, monsters will still detect her aura. But now all the monsters are attracted by the breath of the spiritual spring, and her breath is insignificant in the chaotic situation. After the last monster came out of the entrance of the valley, Zetian immediately led Xianxia to climb the rock wall and go into the valley. After walking for a while, Xianxia got down from the vines that covered the sky, rose into the air, and quickly passed through the valley, arriving at the exact place where the flame grass grew. Flame grass lives up to its name, fiery red, and looks like a large burning flame from a distance. Xianxia was not polite and landed on the most prosperous piece of flame grass. With a thought, she moved a large piece of flame grass into Pangu space. She is not a greedy person. She did not take away such a large piece of flame grass. After all, it was a treasure that the monsters relied on for their cultivation. She only took about 1/3 of it into the Pangu space. Flame grass is a must-have herb for refining elixirs with upgrading effects. It can be used not only for refining elixirs for promotion. It has many uses but is difficult to pick. There is such a large area here. Get more to save time when you need it later. Arrive. And now her Pangu space is different from before. The medicinal materials planted now will continue to grow and more will be reproduced. It can be said that after having this piece of flame grass, she will never be short of flame grass in her life. This is the residence of more than 30 monster beasts. Monster beasts are not as clean as spirit beasts, so the smell here is not very good. After getting the flame grass, the incense fell and went to the entrance of the valley without stopping for a moment. Go. All the monsters were crowded outside the small formation. No matter how they attacked, they could not get in. They could only watch the spiritual spring in the bowl inside. The sight of the spiritual spring that cannot be drunk has already made the monsters a little anxious and irritable, and they are frantically absorbing the spiritual energy emanating from the spiritual spring. Xianxia walked out of the entrance of the valley, changing her steps and leaving the formation. At this time, the 3 white eagles standing not far away were gaping at the large group of black monsters. What did the young man who traded with them do? Why are these monsters attacking like crazy around such a small area? The bowl containing the spiritual spring inside the small formation cannot be seen outside the formation. Although Xianxia used the invisibility script, the cultivation of the 3 white eagles was already at the peak of advanced levels. Even if they could not see her, they immediately noticed her presence as soon as she appeared. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 322. Chapter 322 So familiar. The heads all turned to look at her location. Xianxia was not surprised that she would be discovered by them. She removed the invisibility text on her body and appeared in front of the 3 white eagles. The 3 white eagles instinctively took a step back, just because they were a little afraid of Xianxia's strength. Even though her cultivation level is not high, her skills are high and she is very difficult to guard against. Didn't you see that those monsters were being tricked by her? They were unable to deal with the 3 of them, and Xianxia was solved without doing it. Although Xianxia did not say that she had collected the flame grass, they knew that Xianxia must have succeeded. As soon as Xianxia raised her hand, She took back the bowl containing the spiritual spring, and at the same time, the small formation inside was destroyed. As soon as the bowl disappeared, the spiritual energy of the spiritual spring suddenly faded away. Except for the breath of the spiritual spring dissipating in the air, the monster could no longer sense the rich spiritual energy before. Suddenly they started running around without any direction, but the formation outside was still there and the monster beasts could not come out. It's not that Xianxia is digging around, it's that the spiritual spring is too eye-catching. She can't leave it to the monster. If it leaks out, it will be a big trouble. She didn't know if there was such an existence as a spiritual spring in the higher continent, but it was best not to leak it out. Xianxia said to Bai Diao, "I have picked the flame grass, let's leave quickly." After hearing her words, a white eagle immediately prostrated on the ground and let Ruanxiang fall on its back. The sky covered the sky and became the bracelet on Ruanxiang's wrist. The three white eagles were afraid that those monsters would rush out at the next moment, flying away faster than when it came. How did they know that Yangxiangluobu's formation has a time effect and will be automatically released after half an hour? Before the time is up, unless someone with a higher level than her formation breaks it for them, they will not be able to break out. She didn't want to trap these monsters in the valley forever. However, seeing the flying speed of the three white eagles, Yanxiangluo knew clearly that there was room for improvement in the speed of the three white eagles. Three white eagles flew while communicating with Zhetian. "Ask your master, where are you going now?" Jishan said, "No need to ask, just leave the Death Mountain and fly towards the border." "Do you still need to ask the owner about this? You don't know where the other two herbs are. It's safest to leave the Death Mountain now. The people on the other side of the sacred mountain are going crazy. They are all rushing out now. It doesn't even know them. Can I get out smoothly?" Yanxiangluo looked at the direction in which Bai Diao was flying. Hearing what Zhetian said to Bai Diao, he knew that this was the direction heading out of the valley, so he didn't say anything. He was thinking about how to find the other two medicinal materials. She didn't have time to search all over the mountains. If she couldn't find it, she would try to find a way to buy it in a city. She just didn't know if she could buy it. The white eagle is very fast and flies to the edge of the mountains in the evening. They discovered that there was a strong barrier outside the mountain that they could not pass by flying, so they quickly told Jishan. Jishan already knew the news and told Yanxiangluo. Yanxiangluo knew that this barrier was not set up by the fifth senior brother, but should have been set up by the lord of the late continent. She asked Bai Diao to find a remote place to stay. Since the outside was a barrier set up by people with god-level cultivation, she didn't have the strength to break out yet. If there was no other way, she would just wait and see. The white eagle turned around and found a valley to land in. Yanxiangluo stayed outside to cover the sky with the three white eagles. She turned around and entered the Pangu space. If Jishan comes in with him, he is worried that the three white eagles will be unsure. Another point is that if Jishan stays outside, he can inquire about the development of the situation outside at any time. Coming into the space, Yanxiangluo glanced at his room. It had been a day. The aura in Pangu space was different from that outside. One day was enough for Xuanhuan to recover his cultivation. It's just that the space is hers, and she has the absolute right to make the decision. If she doesn't want Xuanhuan to notice her, Xuanhuan has no way of knowing that she has entered. But she didn't do that. Now that she had let him in, Pangu space couldn't hide it. Since she already knew, it was better to be generous. Therefore, Xuanhuan knew it as soon as she came in and immediately came out of her room. The two of them just stood there looking at each other. In just one day, their mentality was completely different. Xuanhuan is because Yanxiangluo would rather expose her own secrets than save him, and is happy that her position in Yanxiangluo's heart is not so dispensable. Because Yanxiangluo knew how much she cared about Xuanhuan, she heard from the fifth senior brother that he was her calamity in the previous life. At this time, Yan Xianglou didn't know what kind of mentality she should use to face Jizhong. Ninefold. Jizhong raised his feet and walked towards her. He was relieved when he noticed that the aura on her body was normal and she was not injured. Has the matter of the holy mountain been resolved? Jizhong spoke first. Yan Xianglou nodded. Now the holy mountain no longer exists. The location of the holy mountain has been dug into a big hole by those people, and we can't leave the Death Mountain now. The Death Mountain has a barrier. The Lord of the Dusui continent has arranged for people to search everyone who leaves the Death Mountain. Jizhong's eyes paused. He had thought that such a big movement in the Death Mountains would definitely attract the attention of the powerful people in the mainland, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. Have you got the treasure under the sacred mountain? Jizhong asked. Since those people dared to dig a pit into the sacred mountain, the treasure must have disappeared. The sacred mountain was an opportunity for Yan Xianglou, which meant that Yan Xianglou got the treasure from the sacred mountain after entering her space. Yan Xianglou's thoughts moved, and the glazed lamp in the sea of consciousness appeared in her hand. The treasure in the sacred mountain is this glazed lamp. Jizhong looked at the exquisite and crystal clear glazed lantern in her hand and shrank her eyes. Why did it feel familiar? And this time it was particularly familiar, as if he was very familiar with the glazed lamp in the past, but he couldn't remember it. Why does this glass lamp feel so familiar to me? Jizhong did not hide his feeling. A dark light flashed across Yan Xianglou's apricot eyes. It seemed that what the fifth senior brother said was true. The glazed lamp was her own in the previous life. If she and Jizhong were lovers in the previous life, then he must be very familiar with his treasured glazed lamp. Although he has no previous memories now, the familiar feeling in his soul should still be there. Then take a look, maybe you'll remember something. Yan Xianglou put the glazed lamp into Jizhong's hand. Jizhong frowned. Yan Xianglou's tone was wrong. Why did she say she would think of something? He didn't feel like he had forgotten anything. Why do you say that? Jizhong asked in confusion. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 323. Chapter 323. I'm afraid you'll dislike me. Yan Xianglou glanced at him and said, when we came to the holy mountain, we always felt that there was a familiar feeling here. But both you and I are here for the first time. This is an undoubted fact. How can this sense of familiarity come about? What's going on? Jizhong nodded when he heard this. It's indeed not normal. He looked at the glazed lamp and gave it to Yan Xianglou. Maybe we have had a fate with this place in our lifetimes. Jizhong's words were actually just words, but Yan Xianglou's heart was shaken. Although she understood that he just said it casually, what he said was the truth. Fate is really a magical thing. Maybe Yan Xianglou didn't want to dwell on this matter anymore. When she remembered her past life in the future, everything would be revealed. There was no need to disturb her mind because of this matter. She put away the glass lamp. Jizhong asked, where are we now? In my personal space, Yan Xianglou said. Jizhong looked at her and smiled. I know this. I'm asking where it is outside. Yan Xianglou was a little surprised and misunderstood what he meant. In a col on the edge of the Death Mountain. She told Jizhong about the deal with the 3 white eagles. Jizhong shrugged and said, in comparison, it seems that I am useless. You won't dislike me, right? Yan Xianglou knew that Jizhong was joking, so he said in a relaxed tone, who dares to dislike you? Jizhong said seriously, it doesn't matter who dislikes me. I'm just afraid that you will dislike me. Yan Xianglue was speechless and her cheeks were a little red. Was this person talking to him honestly? But what he said is very likely to happen. Thinking that the fifth senior brother said that he was his disaster in the past, then a lot of things must have happened between the two of them. Although it was from the past life, if one day both of them can really remember it, she is still not sure whether these past memories will become obstacles to their relationship in this life, and whether she will dislike him. Then work hard and don't be disliked by me. Xuanhuan didn't know how many twists and turns her heart had turned. After hearing her words, he was filled with joy. He understood that this was the opportunity given to him by Yan Xianglue. Okay, I won't let you down, Xuanhuan said solemnly. He lived an extremely difficult life in this life. Fetal poison had accompanied him for 22 years. Apart from health, he had never wanted anything. He originally thought that after the fetal poison was resolved, his life would only consist of pursuing strength, but he himself didn't expect that his whole heart would fall on Yan Xianglue. It can be said that Yan Xianglue is what he truly wants to have in his life, and he cherishes his fate with her. It seems that he has to be so strong that no one can Yan Xianglue away from him. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to go to the Ji family's inheritance place as soon as possible. Won't you introduce your personal space to me? Xuanhuan saw the fiery red flame grass appearing in the space at a glance. He was very sure that there was no such flame grass when he came in. It was obvious that this flame grass had just been brought in by Yan Xianglue. At this time, he realized how convenient it is to have a portable space for planting. Especially since this person is also an alchemist, he is simply more powerful than a tiger. Naturally, Yan Xianglue would not tell him the origin of Pangu space in detail, but simply introduced it to him. This is Pangu space, which was opened by getting the 5 elements beads and fire beads. The aura inside contains the aura of the ancient Hongmeng. Cultivation is of great help, and there is still room for how to upgrade step by step to where you are now. Hearing her say that the Pangu space was opened because she got the 5 elements pearl fire pearl, and she already owned 3 5 elements pearls. Xuanhuan understood why Yan Xianglue paid so much attention to the 5 elements pearl earth pearl. It turned out that she already owned 3 5 elements pearls. It helps a lot with her space. There are only 5 5 element beads in total, and she already owns 3. It seems that the earth element must be obtained for her. Can you refine the elixir they want? Xuanhuan asked. Earth type 5 element beads need to be exchanged for a god level baby pill. Yan Xianglue looked at Xuanhuan with her beautiful apricot eyes. I should be able to, but it takes time. The alchemy in the lower continent can only refine the 6th grade elixir. When I come to the high continent, I should be able to refine the 7th grade pill and above. The elixir is there, but I haven't had time to try it yet. She was successful in refining the elixirs anyway, and they were all of perfect quality, so there was no reason why she couldn't come here. But refining god-level elixirs will definitely take some time. There are prescriptions for god-level elixirs in Shuyulu, including birth pills, but she is now a 6th level alchemist, and she is still 7 or 8 years away from being a god-level alchemist. Level 93 and then the level. Even if she succeeds every time, it still takes time to refine the god-level elixir. Xuanhuan knew how talented Ruan Xianglue was in alchemy, poison refining, and medical skills, and he did not doubt her words at all. Do you have all the ingredients for refining the elixir? Xuanhuan asked again. Yan Xianglue nodded. Originally, we were missing flame grass, but now we have it. However, the 3 white eagle demon pills and promotion pills are still missing 2 types, the living fruit and the condensed pearl grass. Let's try our best to find these 2. Anyway, we can't leave the Death Mountain now. Take advantage of this time to upgrade your alchemy level first and refine the god level baby elixir that replaces the earth type 5 element beads. I'll go and make the earth type. I'll bring you the 5 elements pearl. Xuanhuan expressed his thoughts. You can escape unscathed, Yan Xianglou asked. It was naturally good to get the 5-element beads of the earth element. She also wanted to collect all the 5-element beads, but Yan Xianglou was unwilling to risk Zhizhong's safety. Zhizhong smiled, if you don't have enough strength, you have to use your wisdom. Yan Xiangluo's mouth twitched. She had spent so much time together that she had forgotten what kind of existence Zhizhong was in the Tianshan Empire. In terms of strategy, in Yan Xiangluo's heart, no one could compare with Zhizhong. Okay, I'm going to make the elixir right now, Yu Xiangluo said. Zhizhong took her hand and said, don't worry, I'm hungry. Yan Xiangluo was confused by his coquettish tone. You are already a sect-level cultivator. Even if you don't eat for a year, you won't be hungry. What do you look like now? But seeing his pitiful expression, Yan Xiangluo felt soft-hearted inexplicably. Then let's eat first. After saying this, Yan Xiangluo walked to the kitchen. Zhizhong did not let go of her hand and followed her to the kitchen. Only then did he realize that the kitchen was also the one on Thousand Poison Peak. His little girl is really thrifty. It must be related to the fact that she has to make a living on her own at the age of 10. This kitchen is too simple for Zhizhong, who is used to the gorgeous and grand kitchens in the palace. When I have time in the future, I will make an exquisite kitchen for her. I turned around and looked at the room where she lives, and then make a gorgeous palace for her to live in. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 324. Chapter 324, Love Each Other. How could the little girl in his heart live in such a simple place? He knew that this house used to be her practice room. Although she had decorated it very warmly, it could not change the fact that it was once a training room. Yan Xiangluo took her hand out of Zhizhong's, wondering how she could cook while holding her like this. Zhizhong felt as if a piece of his heart was missing as the soft little hand left his. He was helpless. Did he care about the little girl to this extent? Feng's eyes softly fell on the busy figure in the kitchen. Although she was not her original appearance, he still looked at her infatuatedly. Fortunately, the little girl is willing to accept him and try to get along with him, otherwise, he doesn't know what will happen to him. Ruan Xiangluo was cooking in the kitchen, while Zhizhong stood outside and watched infatuatedly. When Ruan Xiangluo noticed it, he turned around and saw Zhizhong's infatuated look. Although he was supported by his unparalleled handsome face, why? It looks a little silly. Yan Xiangluo couldn't help laughing. Zhizhong also found that his emotions were a little too exposed. He looked up at the sky in embarrassment. She had already noticed it anyway, so he simply let himself go. He walked to the kitchen door and continued to look at her in a bright and clear light. Yan Xiangluo's cheeks turned red again, and she put the dish into his hand and said, "Bring it to the table." Oh, Zhizhong responded, carrying the dish to the kitchen table and placing the plate squarely in the middle of the table. This is the first time he has done such a thing. With his status, no matter how bad the situation is, there are many people waiting around, and it is really not his turn to do these things that were previously considered to be done by subordinates. He never thought that one day he would do such an ordinary thing. Instead of feeling that he shouldn't do such a thing, he felt very happy. He decided that he would do more of these seemingly ordinary but happiness-filled things with the little girl in the future. Is this how couples in ordinary families live? He likes this kind of life with a strong atmosphere of fireworks. Yan Xiangluo saw that Zhizhong was not dissatisfied with being ordered to do these ordinary things by her. Instead, she ran back happily and continued to bring all the dishes and rice she had prepared to the table. The appearance of never getting tired of it made Yan Xiangluo feel a sense of joy that she had never felt before. At this time, she finally understood why her father always followed her mother when she was doing things when she was a child. She was still happy when her mother disliked her. My father's appearance at that time was not exactly the same as Zhizhong now. Those who are in love are happy even if they do the most ordinary things. When you can be with your beloved, it doesn't matter what you do. What is important is that you are doing it and I am with you, and we are together and our hearts are together. Emotional matters must be experienced personally in order to appreciate the happiness and fun involved. Yan Xianglou understood in an instant what love was and what kind of love she wanted. She was looking forward to her future life with Jizhou Kong. The choices she made when Jizhou Hong faced a life-or-death crisis had proven that she cared about Jizhou Hong. She could no longer ignore the feelings between the two. Jizhou Hong had penetrated into her life bit by bit. Increasingly important in her life. Since they are in love, let's go on together. How long and how far we can go may be determined by fate, but she believes that everything depends on man-made efforts. After 2 lifetimes of survival experience, Yan Xianglou felt that there were too few things that truly belonged to her, including feelings. But the relationship with Jizhou Hong only belongs to them. She is willing to try to believe in him and to join hands with him until the end of her life. Things in the past life cannot be changed, and she wants to control the fate of this life in her own hands. Just like the 5th senior brother's best wishes, she can live the life she wants in this life. After making the decision, Yan Xianglou felt relieved. Giving Jizhou Hong a chance was also giving herself a chance. She wanted to know if they would live and die together as Jizhou Hong said. Jizhou Hong handed the chopsticks to her hand, then gave her her favorite dishes, and then ate them deliciously. From the first time he ate food cooked by Yan Xianglou, Jizhou Hong couldn't eat the food cooked by others. How could his little girl's cooking skills be so good? She captured his stomach in one go. Yan Xianglou looked at the dishes in her bowl. They were all her usual favorites. In fact, she is not picky about food, and she will take a few bites of whatever food she likes or dislikes. Jizhou Hong was so attentive that he could still observe the dishes she liked and remember them under such circumstances. After one meal, Xianglou felt that all kinds of emotions and desires filled her empty soul. The whole person seems to be getting more and more energetic. After dinner, Jizhou Hong took the initiative to clear away the dishes and said, "Luoluo, go make alchemy while I wash the dishes." Jizhou Hong's voice made Yan Xianglou feel the endless love, and her heart felt sweet. Although she didn't mind Jizhou Hong doing these things, Yan Xianglou still doubted whether he, who was born into a royal family and had been a noble person since he was a child, would do these things, so he blurted out and asked, "Have you ever washed dishes?" She doesn't have many bowls, they were used by her family of 3 before. Because there are only 3 members of the family, and no outsiders go to their home, they don't have many bowls and chopsticks at home. If he washes them out, they will be of no use. Jizhou Hong paused and said, "I haven't washed it yet. There is a first time for everything. It's just a matter of washing the dishes. It won't bother me." The fragrance fell to his lips, and she wanted him to be careful not to waste the dishes, so she swallowed it again. Forget it, if he wants to wash the dishes, he can do it. If he really wants to wash them all, he can buy new ones. She would not get used to Jizhou Hong doing nothing and waiting for food and drink to be ready. It makes sense for her to cook while he washes the dishes, which at least shows that she has the same status as him in his heart. Jizhou Hong is not like other men who think that men are more important than women. These things should be done by women. Yan Xianglou got up and went to the medicine field to collect herbs. Although she could control the collection of herbs with her mind, she preferred to go to the field in person to pick the herbs she needed. It felt different and she would be in a better mood. It was a kind of fun. Jizhou Hong saw her walking to the medicine field, so he also packed up the dishes and went into the kitchen. Although he had never done any of this work, Jizhou Hong did it very well. He quickly washed all the pots and pans and kept the kitchen tidy. Finally, I washed my hands and walked out of the kitchen. When I looked in the direction of the medicine field, I saw Yan Xianglou starting to make elixirs directly next to the medicine field. Xuanhuan did not disturb Yan Xiangluo's alchemy refining. Alchemy refining is the same as refining weapons. The whole process cannot be disturbed by external forces. Taking this opportunity, Xuanhuan walked around the Pangu space of Yan Xiangluo and learned about the Pangu space carefully. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 325. Chapter 325 My family is in trouble. The more Xuanhuan knew about the space, the more he wanted to collect the 5 elements pearls for her. He wanted to know what Pangu space would look like by then. Xuanhuan finally stopped next to the Lingquan pond. He didn't know why the Lingquan dripped so fast and so much in Pangu space, but he knew that the jade pond that Yan Xiangluo bought didn't seem to be enough, so he had to think of a way. You can't just buy another pool when the pool is full. He needs to think carefully about how to solve the problem once and for all. Half an hour passed, and Yan Xiangluo had refined the elixir. She excitedly ran to Xuanhuan holding 2 7th-grade elixirs. It worked. This is the first time I have refined a 7th-grade elixir. Luoluo is great, very powerful, Xuanhuan praised without hesitation. Not only was she successful in refining the 7th-grade elixir for the first time, but it was still of perfect quality. She was indeed great and powerful. Her phoenix eyes fell on the 2 7th-grade perfect elixirs with golden elixir patterns held in her slender white palms, and she frowned. If the quality of the god-level infant birth elixirs were the same, even if they were exchanged for the 5 elements beads, they would be worth a little bit. Wait, but it's a little too ostentatious. What's the matter? Yan Xiangluo asked when she saw his frown. Can Luoluo refine an elixir that is not of perfect quality? Xuanhuan asked. Yu Xiangluo was stunned. People who made alchemy tried their best to refine elixirs of perfect quality. Why did he have to refine elixirs that were not of perfect quality when he came here? It only took a moment for Yan Xiangluo to understand what he meant. Are you afraid that it would be too ostentatious to exchange such an elixir for the 5 elements beads? Xuanhuan knew she was smart, and she understood what he meant before he even said it. Yes, you have also read the historical records of the higher continent. As for the information about alchemists, there are very few alchemists who can refine elixirs of perfect quality. The last alchemist who could refine elixirs of perfect quality was 1,800 years old. It appeared years ago, and it was only occasionally possible to refine elixirs of perfect quality. If people know about Luoluo's alchemy talent, it would not be a good thing for us with our current strength, Xuanhuan explained. For a moment. Although it is easier to succeed with a perfect quality elixir, if people know that a perfect quality elixir is available, it will cause unnecessary trouble. There is no airtight wall in the entire continent, and each force has its own source of information. He cannot guarantee that the information about him and Luoluo will not be leaked. Thinking of everything ahead is the prerequisite for his success from childhood to adulthood and his current achievements. Xuanhuan still has a worry in his heart. Although only a few people in Xianxia sect know that the elixirs refined by Yan Xiangluo are of perfect quality, there is no airtight wall. He is worried that Xianxia knows. Xianxia is such a sinister person. If necessary, she will definitely leak the news. But he didn't tell Yan Xiangluo his worries. He could hide it for a while. When they were strong enough, what would they do if they knew? Yan Xiangluo thought for a while and said, I'll try it. From the beginning of elixir refining to now, she has always refined elixirs of perfect quality. She is really not sure whether she can refine elixirs of other qualities. Ordinary alchemists are trying their best to refine elixirs of perfect quality, but she has to rack her brains to refine low-grade elixirs. If those alchemists knew about this, they would die of envy. Yan Xiangluo put 2 pills into Xuanhuan's hands, returned to the medicine field, and started refining the pill for the second time. Although the 7th-grade baby pill cannot be exchanged for the 5 elements pearl, it is still priceless. So she gave it to him like this. Jija Kong was in a very good mood, put away the pills, and continued to study how to solve the spiritual spring pool for her. It was getting dark gradually. Jija's Hong discovered that the time in Pangu space was the same as outside, and there were day and night. He was very curious. This was the first time he had seen such a portable space. In some ancient books, Jija's Hong also saw some introductions about portable space. Without exception, there is only daytime. Yuan Xiangloo's Pangu space is not only divided into night and day, but also divided into 4 seasons throughout the year. There are natural phenomena of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. It can be said that Pangu space is a real world. It's just that in this world, except for plants, there are no humans, monsters, or spiritual beasts. Yan Xiangloo took a longer time this time. When it was completely dark, she came back with a pill without pill patterns. Said frustratedly, "Why is it so difficult to refine low-level elixirs?" Hearing her complaints, Jija's Hong's lips twitched. Everyone complained about the difficulty of refining high-level elixirs, but his little girl was better. Complaining about the difficulty of refining low-level elixirs was really infuriating. Isn't this a success? Jija's Hong took the elixir in her hand and looked at it. It was indeed not of perfect quality. She was used to seeing elixirs of perfect quality, and then seeing this ordinary elixir felt a bit ugly. Yan Xiangloo patted his forehead. "It's too troublesome. I have to control the purity of the medicinal solution to prevent it from becoming a perfect quality elixir." Jija's Hong laughed and rubbed Yan Xiangloo's head. "It's hard for my family Luo." It was the first time that Yan Xiangloo was coaxed like this, and her cheeks turned red again. She quickly said, "Zetian said that the search outside the Death Mountain is very strict, and we won't be able to get out for a while. I will take advantage of this time to quickly improve my alchemy grade." She did think so. She knew that Jija's Hong was anxious to go to the inner continent to accept the Ji family's inheritance. She didn't want to waste too much time by exchanging Earth-type 5-element beads. The sooner she could refine the God-level elixir, the more time she would save. Jija's Hong was also thinking about how to solve the problem of Lingquan Pool. He nodded and said, "Okay, but refining alchemy consumes a lot of mental energy. Luo must control the intensity and not let his consciousness be injured." Yan Xiangloo nodded, "I have a strong spirit and will also pay attention to my sense of propriety, so don't worry." After saying that, he turned around and ran to the medicine field again. Jija's Hong looked at the sky that had turned completely dark, followed him, took out a few fist-sized lighting beads and placed them around Yan Xiangloo, so that the place where he was brightened up. Yan Xiangloo did not refuse Jija's Hong's care. She took out the book and began to study the elixir. No matter how anxious she was, she would not refine just one elixir for each level. If she followed the method taught by her master, she would successfully refine all the elixirs of each level before refining the next level of elixirs. But now, in order to save time, she wants to select a few representative elixirs to refine. When she can refine the God-level elixir, she can refine the birth baby elixir and then go back to refine other elixirs to make up for the shortcomings. Here, you can perfect your alchemy skills. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 326. Chapter 326, Once and for All. This is already the safest way to advance that Yan Xiangloo can think of. After all, almost all alchemists in this world only refine a few kinds of pills before trying to break through to the next level. Not everyone's talent can refine all elixirs of the same level. Each elixir recipe has different refining techniques. The level of talent determines the level of the alchemist and the number of types of elixirs they can refine. Many alchemists do not have the stamina and strength, so like her now, they choose to refine the elixirs that are representative or can be refined by themselves. But one thing is that if you want to obtain the alchemist level certificate, you must refine several fixed types of elixirs in accordance with the requirements of the Alchemist Association. Hence, these types of elixirs must be learned by all alchemists. One night, Xianxia was busy refining elixirs to improve her level as an alchemist. It was not until the sky got slightly bright that Xianxia stretched out and stopped refining elixirs. The effect was good, and Xianxia was in a good mood. In one night, she refined 10 kinds of elixirs for 7th grade elixirs, and also refined 5 kinds of 8th grade elixirs, among which the birth elixir was a must. If she does this every night, she will be able to refine the god level elixir in 2 or 3 days. This is still a conservative estimate of the time. After all, the higher the level of the elixir, the more difficult it is to refine it, and the more time it takes to think. God level alchemist is the level that legendary alchemists dream of. In fact, Yu Xianluo has always known that her alchemy talent is somewhat unusual. No matter how talented an alchemist is, it is impossible for her to be like her. She never fails in alchemy and can succeed every time. Refining elixirs of perfect quality. Although she was very confused before, she couldn't find the reason and didn't care too much about it. However, after the 5th senior brother returned her glazed lamp to her, Xianxia had an idea. Maybe she was a very high-level alchemist in her previous life, or even a god-level alchemist. The quality of her alchemy should be the same as hers. Just like now, the elixir refined every time is of perfect quality. Things passed down from generation to generation in the soul, that's why she has such a high talent for alchemy in this life, and only in this way can we explain why her talent for alchemy is so strong. The more I know, the more curious I become about my own life. Xianxia did not limit the quality of her elixirs. They were all of perfect quality. She planned to keep these perfect quality elixirs for herself and Xuanhuan to use. When she can refine the god-level elixir, she can refine an ordinary level baby elixir and exchange it for the earth-type 5-element beads. After all, it is much more difficult for her to refine an ordinary grade elixir than to refine one of perfect quality. Putting away the elixirs refined overnight, he turned around to look for Xuanhuan, and found that Xuanhuan was busy at the Lingquan pond. His eyes lit up. Why was there another pond? With a thought, she arrived beside Xuanhuan. She is the master of the space. Wherever she wants to go in the space, she can reach it with just a thought. She can definitely teleport with much less effort than a god-level powerhouse. It's a pity that she only has this ability in space. So much so that she will be able to teleport after reaching a god-level cultivation level in the future. She dislikes the fact that teleportation consumes too much spiritual energy and cannot be used all the time. You refined it. Although Xianxia asked Xuanhuan, her tone was affirmative. After all, there was no one else in her Pangu space, and she could know what the things in her space were without any effort. Well, although the pool seems to be enough now, the consumption rate of the spiritual spring is too small and the accumulation rate is fast. It will not be long before the pool is full. You can't buy more pool equipment when the pool is full. I'm thinking about it. How could we come up with this solution once and for all? Xuanhuan explained. Xianxia looked at the pool refined by Xuanhuan. Although it looked like it was made of jade and was more refined than the one she bought, it was too small. How could it be a one-and-done solution? How can such a small pond be saved once and for all? Xianxia asked. Xuanhuan smiled, and his unparalleled beauty seemed to be coated with a layer of light, which instantly dazzled Xianxia's eyes. She quietly averted her gaze. Men were also attractive. The pool I refined contains space stones, which can change in size according to the amount of things in it. Xuanhuan naturally saw the surprise in her eyes, pretended not to see it, and told her the secret of the pool. Is this still possible? Yan Xiangloo said in shock, "You are so awesome." Ji Hong has heard countless compliments since he was a child, but no one's praise made him so happy. Even if his father praised him, he had never been so happy. It was the joy that radiated from the depths of his soul. Yan Xiangloo noticed that the aura on his body had become warmer, and she thought he was happy because he had come up with this method. The principle is similar to that of a space ring. Maybe the weapon refiners in higher continents can understand it, Ji Hong said modestly. Yan Xiangloo still looked at Ji Hong with starry eyes. Even if they know it, it will be different. You figured it out with your own intelligence. They have a ready-made master to teach you. She did think so in her heart. Without knowing anything, what she researched and figured out was an invention, and it was definitely not on the same level as the IQ taught by her master. Ji Hong smiled, when Luoluo said that, "I also feel that I am very powerful." Yan Xiangloo knew that he was teasing her, so she also laughed. "You helped me solve the biggest problem in space." Yan Xiangloo was telling the truth. Although she bought such a big three-connected pond, it would still be full one day. She still needed to solve the problem of installing the spirit spring again. Now that Ji Hong had refined the pool for her, which could increase its capacity according to the amount of content in it, she no longer had to worry about this problem. Ji Hong instantly felt as if he had done something great. "If you have anything to do in the future, just tell me and I will solve it for you." Ji Hong immediately took the opportunity to express his thoughts. He wanted Luoluo to get used to relying on him and seeing how useful he was, so that she would not dislike him. But she said that she should work hard not to be disliked by her. Yan Xiangloo nodded, "I won't be polite to you in the future." Isn't it normal for someone who decides to spend a lifetime together to do something for her? She doesn't need to be polite to him. Seeing her agreeing to him so simply, Ji Hong felt even better. Yan Xiangloo turned around and walked to the kitchen. "I'm going to make breakfast. Think about whether there is any way for us to leave the Death Mountain as soon as possible. Since his brain is so useful, it cannot be wasted." Ji Hong followed her. "What's going on outside now?" End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 327. Chapter 327. Haven't tried it yet. Jishan said that there is only one entrance and exit outside the mountain range, and none of those people left. The Lord of the Duosi continent arranged for people with God-level cultivation to inspect the people who came out of the Death Mountain. Even those who entered later must also be inspected. Use Xianjing to check everyone's gift rings. It's impossible to sneak out, Yan Xiangloo told Ji Hong the information Zetian told her. Ji Hong frowned when he heard this. Since it was inspected by a God-level expert in person, it was really impossible for them to go out without alerting them. Although his level as a mysterious master was very high, with his current level of cultivation, it was impossible to get the mysterious pattern from a god. The super strong man slipped out right under his nose, and he really wasn't sure. Just waiting is not an option. People outside will not give up in a short time and will not leave the Death Mountain. If I wait until they leave before leaving, I don't know how much time it will take. No wonder Luoluo is anxious, but when encountering difficulties, he thinks of his excellent habit, and he will definitely develop Luoluo's habit in the future and stick to it. Going to the door of the kitchen, Yan Xiangloo went in to cook. Ji Hong followed her into the kitchen. "Luoluo, let me wash and chop the vegetables." Yan Xiangloo didn't refuse. She naturally took out the vegetables and put them on the table nearby. She told him how to wash them and how to cut them, and then she let him do it by himself. Yan Xiangloo finally understood that Ji Hong was smart not only in his cultivation and resourcefulness, but also in being able to quickly learn and do well whatever he wanted to do. Washing and cutting vegetables is not difficult at all in Yan Xiangloo's eyes, and Ji Hong thinks it is even less difficult. She washed the rice and steamed the rice. Because she was using her own flame, she sat aside and controlled the flame to steam the rice. Her beautiful apricot eyes looked at Jizhong, who used to wash and chop vegetables with his hands. Jizhong moved very slowly at first, but became faster and faster as he became familiar with it. It felt like he was practicing knife skills rather than chopping vegetables. Well, handsome men look good in anything they do. Although he was doing something at hand without delaying his thoughts, Jizhong was thinking about how to leave the Death Mountain without alerting the searchers. At present, their cultivation level is not enough to set up a barrier, let alone break the barrier set up by people with God-level cultivation, so this method of breaking the barrier and getting out is not feasible. Then there is only one way out, which is the entrance and exit they left, but if you want to go out from there, you will inevitably be searched. He is not worried about the glazed lamp. After all, it is impossible for a God-level powerhouse to use a mysterious mirror to find out what is inside the portable space. Things. What he was worried about was their original identity and appearance. The favorite son of the Lord of the Twilight Continent had already issued a secret order to arrest them in the Twilight Continent. People were looking for them everywhere with their portraits. Face-changing patterns have no effect at all under the mysterious mirror. Their true appearance can be seen directly in the mysterious mirror. Even if no glazed lamps are found on their bodies, they will not be allowed to leave. The rice was steamed quickly, and Yanxiangluo started cooking quickly. Jizhong didn't speak until he finished breakfast. Yanxiangluo knew that he was thinking of a solution, so he didn't bother him. Jizhong stood up, took the dishes from her hand and said, "Didn't we agree that I will wash all the dishes in the future?" Yanxiangluo shrugged, "I'm not just watching you think about something, and I don't want to disturb you." Jizhong walked into the kitchen and asked while washing the dishes, "Can the Luoluo Pangu space attach to other people and leave?" Yanxiangluo was stunned and immediately understood what he meant. "I haven't tried it yet." But in the fantasy books she had read before, there was such a space. She once again admired Jizhong's IQ. She, a person who had read books, never thought that he, a native of the fantasy world, would think of it. Jizhong said, "Luoluo, go out and give it a try. You sit on the vines of Jishan and enter the space. Let Jishan leave and try whether the space will follow it. If possible, we will find a way to make Jishan leave better than us. It's much easier." "I'm afraid Zetian's strength cannot avoid those with God-level cultivation," Yanxiangluo said matter-of-factly. "Although Jishan used to be a divine plant, he is not now. Jishan's ability may not be enough in front of a strong person with a God-level cultivation. As long as Jishan can leave with space, I will have a way to make Jishan leave," Jizhong said confidently. Seeing that Jizhong was so sure, Yanxiangluo knew that he had come up with something. "I'm going to try it right now." As soon as she finished speaking, the person appeared outside the space. The three white eagles had been waiting all night, and finally saw Yanxiang falling again, and they all looked at her. Yanxiangluo ignored the three of them and said to Zetian, "Zetian, spread the vines." Zetian immediately stretched his body obediently, and the vines grew taller and thicker. Yanxiangluo sat down on the vine, then stepped into the space and used her spiritual consciousness to communicate with Zetian. "Zetian, you move around." Jishan listened to her words and moved his vines to walk in front of the three white eagles. Yanxiangluo realized that her space was always on Jishan's body, and she could indeed move with Jishan. She was so excited that she came to the door of the kitchen and said to Jizhong, who was still washing dishes, "It's really okay." Hearing this, Jizhong said, "We are going out." "What are you going to do with the three white eagles?" Yanxiangluo was stunned for a moment, and then she thought that the three white eagles were so big that it was impossible to leave the Death Mountain through the entrance and exit. Their cultivation would also make those people covet them, and they wanted to capture them, tame them, and use them as war pets. It would be better if there was no deal with them. She had sworn an oath. The deal with the 3 white eagles must be fulfilled, so they must be taken out. There is only one way to take them out, which is to take them into Pangu space, and then let them out again. But they are not her contracted spirit beasts, so they may not trust her. If they don't trust her and offer even the slightest resistance, she won't be able to bring them into the space. Then you need to convince them. Yan Xianglou blinked, and the task of persuasion was left to Zetian, a little expert in negotiation. I'll ask Zetian to communicate with them and let them stay in the space for a while, Yan Xianglou said to Jizhong. Jizhong washed the dishes and came out of the kitchen. Okay, let Zetian hurry up and we'll leave later. Yan Xianglou responded and communicated with Zetian, asking Zetian to persuade the 3 white eagles. Yan Xianglou didn't pay attention to how Zetian persuaded the 3 white eagles. She believed in Zetian's ability to deceive people. About a quarter of an hour later, news came from Jishan that the task was completed, and Yan Xianglou was asked to come out and bring the 3 white eagles into the space. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 328. Chapter 328, Try to Believe Him. Jizhong raised his eyebrows. He was quite capable of covering the sky. He actually made the 3 white eagles trust him so quickly. You must know that although Luoluo's Pangu space is indeed a unique treasure in the world, you must give your freedom to Luoluo when you enter. The 3 white eagles are wild spiritual beasts, and they will not trust anyone. After Yu Xianglou went out, she saw 3 white eagles looking at her with burning eyes, as if she were some delicious delicacy. Yan Xianglou's mouth twitched. How could Zetian deceive others? Although he was confused in his heart, he did not stop his movements. His spiritual consciousness locked on the 3 of them, and with a thought, he took the 3 of them into Pangu space. However, she set a limit for the 3 of them. They could not see or approach the spiritual spring, the medicinal patch, or the place where she lived. After all, it is their own space. The 3 white eagles are different from Zetian, Yuntuan, and Wushuang. They are their own space, but the 3 white eagles still have to go out and let them be free. Jishan saw that he was the only one left outside, so he followed him in. Yan Xianglou looked at the 3 white eagles soaring freely in her space, and immediately understood how Zetian persuaded them to come in. Have to admit that Zetian is indeed a good negotiator. Even if the same conditions are met and can be persuaded, Jishan has the ability to make the other party trust it. Maybe this has something to do with the fact that its soul is a mythical beast. 3 white eagles have entered the space. Yan Xianglou looks like Jizhong, meaning what should we do next? Jizhong called to Jishan, who was about to go to the space stone milk to practice with Yuntuan. Jishan immediately changed direction and came to the 2 of them. Although it also wants to practice, it also knows the priorities of things. As long as it leaves the Death Mountain, it has plenty of time to practice. Jizhong didn't say a specific method. He just asked Yan Xianglou to take him and Jishan out of Pangu space, and then asked Jishan to lead the way to the entrance and exit. The place where they rested was not far from the entrance and exit, and their speed was very fast. In a quarter of an hour, they arrived near the entrance. People who were originally in the Death Mountain were looking for where to get out. One night had passed and most people had found a place. Therefore, people kept coming to the entrance and exit. Those who went to Shanyu Mountain were searched last night and were waiting for news outside the entrance. Even though there are so many God-level experts here, even if the treasure is found, it has nothing to do with them, but they feel that it is good to have a chance to see the treasure. After all, this treasure once caused the death of more than 300 God-level experts. Hence, there are many more people outside than those who were originally in the mountains. Yan Xianglou looked at the entrance. There were more than a dozen people guarding it, all of whom were cultivators above the level. There was a middle-aged man wearing a gorgeous brocade robe sitting on a beautifully carved and luxurious chair, Standing behind him, there are 6 uniformly dressed guards. Yan Xianglou guessed that this person should be the lord of Josui continent. Her heart was raised. There were god-level powerhouses both here and outside, and the lord of the old continent was still personally in charge. Is there any way Jizhou Hong could make Jishan go out with the space? Looking up at Jizhou Hong, he saw his phoenix eyes staring at the entrance and exit, without saying anything to disturb his train of thought. Their strength is simply incomparable to each other, and they have to outwit each other if they want to get out. After a moment, Jizhou Hong said, "Zhetian, when the entrance and exit become chaotic in a while, you should quickly find an opportunity to go out." Although Jishan could not communicate with him directly, Jishan could hear what he said and immediately moved the vines to show that it understood. Jizhou Hong said to Yan Xianglou, "Get ready, let's go into the space." Jishan immediately stretched out the vines. Yan Xianglou sat on the vines that covered the sky and let Jizhou Hong into the space. Then she asked, "What's next?" Jizhou Hong looked at her and said, "Can I see outside the space?" Yes. Yan Xianglou immediately released the space restrictions on Jizhou Hong. Release authority to Jizhou Hong. Firstly, she is trying to trust him, and secondly, it is convenient for Jizhou Hong to enter and exit the space. If there is danger, he can enter her space himself, as long as she is by his side. Jizhou Hong suddenly felt as if he had a clairvoyant eye. He could see the outside clearly, and he could see all the places he wanted to see around him, as if he were outside. And the space is now on Jishan. They can let Jishan adjust the height to see the surroundings from the best angle. Jizhou Hong was once again amazed by the role of portable space. "Luo, I'll let him go later. You let Xuanhuan go out and let Xuanhuan run to the left, about 50 meters, and then stop for 2 or 3 times to breathe, and then come back immediately," Jizhou Hong said to Yan Xianglou. Hearing this, Yan Xianglou understood clearly that Jizhou Hong wanted to use Xuanhuan to attract the spiritual consciousness of those god-level experts to check, so that Zhetian could avoid their spiritual consciousness. As soon as Xuanhuan appears, it is difficult for those god-level experts to remain calm, and they will immediately use their spiritual sense to check. This is the best time for Zhetian to leave. Although it is simple to say, this timing is very difficult to control. If Jizhou Hong dared to do this, he must have made precise calculations without making any mistakes. You must know that spiritual consciousness is only a matter of a thought, and it will be discovered if it almost covers the sky. Another point is that Quancheng has lost the treasure that allows the hot springs to nourish spiritual roots. This matter cannot be hidden for a few days. Once Xuanhuan leaves, it will only take 3 days for the hot spring water to return to normal hot springs. Nowadays, almost all the powerful people in the Josui continent are here. It is known that the treasures in Quan City are in the Death Mountains, and it is safer for Yan Xianglou who actually gets the treasures. Since this place is so close to Quan City and there is such a big movement in Death Mountain, the Lord of Quan City must also be here. No one is more familiar with Xuanhuan's aura than him. With him testifying that the treasures of Quan City are here, Death Mountain will continue to be lively. They can also continue on their way without stopping. Yan Xianglou admired Jizhou Hong's mind, and immediately told Jishan to keep an eye on the entrance and exit, and when he let him go out immediately without any hesitation. Then he communicated with Xuanhuan again, and when he was ready, he waited for Jizhou Hong to find him. Opportunity. "Let it go," Jizhou Hong said suddenly with his phoenix eyes staring outside. Yan Xianglou immediately let Xuanhuan out. Xuanhuan followed Jizhou Hong's instructions and released the spiritual energy on it as soon as it came out, and then quickly ran to the left. Xuanhuan was extremely fast, and it was 50 meters away in the blink of an eye. She counted about 3 or 4 times in her mind, and then she was there. Quickly rushed back to Yan Xianglou's space. The whole process took a very short time, but it left behind a rich aura that drove the spiritual roots crazy. The people guarding the entrance and exit, No matter what level of cultivation they had, their spiritual roots were feeling, and they were very strong, and everyone suddenly became excited. Dear friends, I went back to see my mother on Mother's Day. I came back too late last night. I rushed out a chapter this morning. I will write the second update at noon, so the update will be later. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 329. Chapter 329, Leaving the Mountains. Especially the Lord of Quancheng City, the news that Quancheng City has lost a treasure that can make the hot springs nourish spiritual roots cannot be concealed, because the hot springs in the entire Quan City have lost this function. The hot spring in his city lord's mansion is the most effective, but it has no effect at all, let alone other hot springs in the city. Now that the baby appeared in the Death Mountains, he suddenly looked to the left in the direction with the strongest spiritual energy. Could it be that his previous suspicions were wrong all along, that the spiritual beast that was as fast as a ray of light was actually the spiritual beast in the Death Mountains? If there is such a powerful spiritual beast here, he still believes it. After all, there are treasures that have not been taken away by more than 300 God-level experts. In comparison, he is not surprised that such a powerful spiritual beast appears. Even if it says there are mythical beasts, he will believe them. So he now feels that he has always thought that the spiritual beast contracted by humans took away the treasures of Quan City in the wrong direction, so that he has not found any clues. The Lord of Twilight Continent suddenly stood up and looked at the Lord of Quancheng City. The Lord of Quan City suddenly felt a strong pressure that made him bend at the waist. He was originally the Lord of the Old Age Continent, otherwise he would not have been able to become the Lord of Quan City. After all, it was extremely comfortable to be the Lord of the city. Over the years, his spiritual roots had been raised to a higher level, and his talent had naturally improved a lot. Now the treasure was lost when he was in charge. Although he reported it, it was never found, which made the Lord of the Late Continent very angry. He had been worried that the Lord would suspect him of taking the treasure, and he was so full of words that he couldn't explain it clearly. The years have been unfavorable, and he has been memorizing ideas for several years. Now that he found the smell of treasure here, he felt relieved. This proved that he did not take the treasure away privately. Actually, he also thought about taking away the treasure, but he couldn't find its location. He said laboriously despite the pressure, "Lord, it is indeed the breath of treasure that was stolen from Quan City." His words immediately caused everyone present to look over. In the blink of an eye, they all rushed to the left side where the spiritual energy was the strongest. The entrance suddenly became chaotic. It was easy for you to manage so many people when they abided by the rules. Now they are all going crazy and can't be controlled at all. Moreover, the Lord of the Old Age Continent is not in the mood to care about these people. He was the first to rush to the left, along with those God-level experts. He also rushed over. For those who are strong in their level of cultivation, if they want to advance to a higher level in cultivation, what better way is there than to improve the quality of their spiritual roots? Just when these people were in chaos, Jishan reduced the vines to their smallest state at the moment Xuanhuan entered the space, and rushed towards the entrance and exit quickly against the ground. When the Lord of the Late Continent and the others rushed out, Jishan arrived at the entrance. There were too many people and it was too crowded. People were trying to squeeze in and out of the cracks, and finally went out. Ji Zhong said to Yan Xiangluo, "Luo, don't let Zetian stop. Those people are not that easy to fool. They will react soon and head towards the border." What he didn't say was that if he was the Lord of the Musui continent, there would be secret guards guarding him in the dark. If Zetian stopped at this time, they would be discovered immediately if they went out, but he didn't say that he didn't want his Luo is worried. Yan Xianglio immediately communicated with Zetian, who ran towards the border as fast as possible. Wherever he passed, if anyone saw him, he could only see a green light passing by. Ji Zhong looked at the distance and asked Jishan to stop. The two left the space and let Jishan enter. Ji Zhong took out the formation disc and input his spiritual power, and the two figures disappeared instantly. Just after the two figures disappeared, there were only 2 or 3 moments of breathing time before countless spiritual powers enveloped them. If they had taken one step at night, they would have been discovered. I have to admit that Ji Zhong's cognitive ability in the development and control of the situation is too strong. The Lord of Twilight Continent rushed over and felt that the spiritual energy had become lighter, and no stronger spiritual energy could be detected around him. He immediately realized that he was probably being plotted, and rushed back quickly to order his own people to search the outside immediately, especially its to search far away. Actually, he knew in his heart that if someone really had planned this, it would be too late to find him now. Since the other party created this chaos, they are sure to go out without being found by them. Think about it, how could the person who can get the treasure of Quancheng be an ordinary person? His secret guards with God-level cultivation guard the entrances and exits. Although he has trained them at a cost, they are all people who have sworn allegiance to him and can be trusted. With their cultivation level, let alone the treasure letting out its aura, even if the treasure is placed in front of them, they will not be distracted at all. But he asked, and none of them felt anyone go out from the entrance. He is very aware of the strength of his secret guards. Unless they are strong men above demigods, they will not notice it. But for such a strong person, there is no need to leave in this way. You must know that the strong people above the level are very noble, let alone those above the demigod level. Could his suspicion be wrong? Didn't someone deliberately create this chaos? The Lord of Quan City said that the treasure was taken away by a spiritual beast. Could it be that this spiritual beast has no owner? It wasn't until all the spiritual energy dissipated that some people started to react, especially those powerful men above the level who came to the Lord of the Sunset Continent. The Lord of Musui Continent knows very well that before, it was only the treasures at the foot of the Xianxia mountain, but now the treasures from Quan City are also added. These people will not give up until they see that the treasures have an owner. If the person who gets the treasure is not strong enough, it will inevitably lead to an extremely battle for the treasure. The Twilight Lord of the continent has a headache. In this situation, even if he gets the treasure, it will not stop. Because he had made an oath before, these people would believe the treasure of Xianxia mountain, but he really couldn't explain the loss of the treasure of Quan City. The whole continent belongs to him, and the Lord of Quan City belongs to him. Who would believe it if the treasure was stolen by a spirit beast that didn't even know what kind it was? Everyone would think that he deliberately spread the news, but in fact the treasure was already in his hands. Even if he is willing to swear another oath now, no one will believe him. Since the treasure is already in hand, does he have to put it in his own hands? Now it's no longer about how to find two treasures, but about what to do to return your life to normal in the future. Therefore, he immediately ordered his people to enter the Death Mountain to find the spiritual beast that had dug up the treasures in Quan City. Everyone was still a little suspicious after seeing the Twilight Lord of the continent giving the order with a very unhappy face, but it didn't look like he was faking it, so the people who had come out of the Death Mountain range entered the mountain range again. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 330. Chapter 330 Wrong Thoughts. However, only people with God-level cultivation can enter. They are just looking at the excitement outside. Going into the mountains, if the treasure that allows Quancheng Hot Spring to nourish spiritual roots is really in the Death Mountains, the Death Mountains are so big, they will have a certain amount of luck to get the treasures, and they will lose nothing if they don't have them. Now that the treasures in the godly Meteor Mountains are gone, the danger in the Death Mountains has also been reduced. If you can't get the treasures, just practice. However, those strong men with God-level cultivation will not go in. They are worried that the Lord of the Old Age continent will use tricks, so they all wait for the news. Anyway, no matter who goes in, whoever gets the treasure will not be able to leave the Death Mountain with them. And at the same time, he was monitoring the Lord of the Late Continent. The two people who caused this chaos were already sitting on the back of the White Eagle and continued to rush to the border. There were people searching for them in every city. If they didn't enter the city, it would be more difficult for them to travel. None of the three White Eagles wanted to come out of Yanxiangluo's Pangu space, so they decided to take turns. Anyway, one White Eagle can take two people flying. It doesn't matter to Yanxiangluo and Jizhong, anyway, the purpose of trading with them is to rush on the road, as long as one of them can be used as a flying mount. The two of them were busy sitting on the back of the White Eagle. Yanxiangluo continued to refine elixirs, and Jizhong continued to study the formation disk. He actually admired Yanxiangluo for being able to make elixirs in such an environment. Jizhong himself is a weapon refiner. He knows very well that a quiet environment is needed when refining weapons, and the same goes for alchemy. But he discovered that Yanxiangluo can enter the state quickly under any circumstances. As long as you don't disturb her, nothing you do will affect her alchemy refining. This may be the main reason why she can refine elixirs of perfect quality. Three White Eagles took turns to rest and fly. After 1 day and 1 night, each one flew exactly twice, and the speed always remained the same. The next day, the two used the array disk again and continued to fly on the White Eagle. Such speed allowed them to save a lot of time in the future. 3 days later, the two finally arrived at Fengjia Pass, the most remote border in the interior of the Musui continent. What the two of them didn't expect was that the screening of people entering and leaving Fengjia Pass was also very strict. If you want to pass the pass, you must undergo Xuanjing's inspection. Yanxiangluo and Jizhong looked at each other. Although they said nothing, Jizhong also understood the meaning. She was asking, "Is it because of me?" Jizhong held her hand and said, "Don't worry, I have a way to pass the level." He has always been prepared for everything he does. He knows very well that few things will go smoothly, and even a small change will affect the overall situation of the matter. Therefore, he has developed the habit since he was a child that no matter how well planned he is, he must be prepared for unexpected changes. Preparation. There is a town at Fengjia Pass, Fengjia Town. Because it is a town, there are no city walls or anything like that, so there is no need to check your identity. Yanxiangluo was thinking that she still hadn't found two medicinal materials for refining elixirs for the three White Eagles. She couldn't leave now even if she had other options, so she would stay in Fengjia Town for a few days. Jizhong tried to find a way to clear the level. She tried to find all the medicinal materials and refine the elixir. Moreover, they also planned to get the Earth-type 5-element beads before leaving. Her current alchemy level has not yet reached the level. Although she has been refining alchemy on the back of the White Eagle for the past 3 days, the improvement speed is not as fast as when she is resting. Now she has refined 9th-level elixirs, but she lacks ideas for God-level elixirs. Hence, it is urgent to study God-level elixirs. They didn't know that the reason why the border inspections were so strict was because of Qin Sui's deliberate guidance. After Qin Sui followed Lu Yu back to Musui City, she naturally lived in Lu Mansion. Lu Mansion is the residence of the late Lord of the continent. Although it is called Lu Mansion, it is built like a royal palace. Coupled with the fact that she got along extremely well with those men, she was able to get some information immediately that ordinary people couldn't know. Within a few days, Qin Sui had a certain understanding of the forces in the Musui continent. As for Dakian Auction House, even the Twilight Lord of the mainland did not dare to provoke it. Lu Yu even wanted to establish a relationship with the young master of Dakian Auction House. Unfortunately, there was no chance, mainly because the young master of Daqian auction house did not allow Lu Yu to do so. Chance. This made Lu Yu know that even the lord of the continent had forces that he was afraid of in his own territory, and her goal was further set. After she learned that the Earth-type 5-element beads had to be exchanged for God-level elixirs, she understood that a very important person in the Daqian auction house had a problem with his Danshan. Originally, it would not be a problem to buy a God-level elixir with the status and wealth of the Daqian auction house. But she learned from Lu Kao that none of the alchemists in the entire continent who could refine elixirs above the level had succeeded in refining them. Now the auction house is offering Earth-type 5-element beads as reward, hoping that some reclusive master of alchemy can refine the God-level elixir they need. Probably that person couldn't wait much longer. Lu Yu, who had always wanted to establish a relationship with young Master Daqian, thought this was an excellent opportunity. However, even in the palace of the late lord of the continent, there was no alchemist who could refine God-level elixirs. Xianxia thought of the young master coveting Yan Xiangluo, and felt that this was a good opportunity to deal with Yan Xiangluo. She rolled her eyes and said, the elixirs that Yan Xiangluo refined before were all of perfect quality. If the elixirs were of high quality, wouldn't they God-level elixirs might also work, but it's a pity that I can't find her. Lu Yu's eyes lit up when he heard this. Yes, since it is impossible to refine a God-level baby pill, is it also possible to refine a 9th grade baby pill with perfect quality? Lu Yu immediately asked, you have a good relationship with Yan Xiangluo. Although he likes beauty, what he values more is his own strength and power. He is just a beauty. If he can establish a relationship with Daqian young master, he can give it to him. Xianxia shook her head and said, we are not familiar with each other. I have only heard that she is very talented in alchemy and can often refine elixirs of perfect quality. Xianxia has never met Yan Xiangluo face to face. On the surface, the two of them have never met, let alone know each other. The reason why she knows so much about Yan Xiangluo is because she specially asked people to collect information about Yan Xiangluo. Originally, I wanted to understand her and kill her if I had the chance, but I didn't expect that Yan Xiangluo grew up too fast, and she herself degenerated so fast that she had no chance to take action against Yan Xiangluo again. Just like now, she can only have some evil thoughts secretly. She just doesn't want to make things easier for Ruan Xiangluo. Since Lu Yu likes Ruan Xiangluo's beauty, he will never give up until he gets Ruan Xiangluo. She was worried that her position would be threatened after Yan Xiangluo arrived, so it would be better to strike first and make the young master more interested in using Yan Xiangluo than liking her. Although she has not been with Lu Yu for a long time, she has experienced a lot of men and understands Lu Yu's temperament. End of this chapter.